It is live and local now. Kevin Wall with you. Great to be back from vacation. And while I've been gone, all kinds of stuff going on. The Donald goes off again. We've got political candidates declaring their candidacy for president. All kinds of stuff going on. Last week, Danny Tarkanian announced for Congressional District Number 3, looking to succeed Dr. Joe Heck, who is running for the U.S. Senate seat, currently held, and I would say not so very well, by Harry Reid. And then yesterday, I get back into town. I fly in at like 2:45 in the afternoon, and I pick up the RJ, and all of a sudden, Glenn Cook's column says that my friend Andy Matthews is going to announce on Monday that he is a candidate for Congressional District 3, and he is with us. And so we had booked you like 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, I think, to be in on this Monday. And so here you are. So what do you have to say for yourself, huh?
Here I am. I want to say you look great for having just flown in at 2:45 in the morning. I don't know how you do it, but and I know a little bit about running on not a whole lot of sleep. But yeah, thank you for having me on the program. I'm really pleased to be here. And yeah, I'm announcing my candidacy for the United States Congress in Nevada's 3rd Congressional District. And I think it's going to be a good race, a real competitive race. I think the message that I bring to the race is one that's really going to resonate with voters. And I'm really honored to be able to share that here with you and with your listeners this morning.
I'm curious because you got a great gig at the Nevada Policy Research Institute. You did an amazing job for over 4 years. And to give that up, hoping and thinking maybe I can win a congressional seat, that's a reach for a lot of people. I mean, there are going to be a lot of folks who are going to run in Congressional District 3 and 4 that aren't going to win. I guess my question is, how much thought went into this? I know you've been thinking about it, because you and I have talked off air and even on air that you've been thinking about this for a while. How much thought actually went into it?
A lot of thought. And anybody who makes the decision to run for office at any level, I would urge those people, put a lot of thought into it. This is not a decision to be taken lightly. You're right what you said about NPR. I thank you very much, by the way, for the kind words about the work we did there. Best job in the world, best job I've ever had. It is very difficult to step away from. I've always said that I will do whatever I can to best serve the cause that I believe in and to best advance the principles that I believe in. I've certainly enjoyed my work at MPRI. They're going to continue to do great work. But I've come to the decision that this is the best way right now for me to fight for this cause. I've seen up close how the intrusive federal government and the increasing tax burden, regulatory burden, increased spending by the federal government makes it increasingly difficult for states to protect themselves against that assault on our liberties. It's harder and harder nowadays to implement policies even at the state level that will foster prosperity and economic growth. When you've got so many directives coming out of Washington, D.C., we need to fight back against that. I think my principles, my platform makes it very, very clear that I'm going to fight back against that. And I think this is the best way for me to continue to serve this cause, to promote individual liberty, promote free enterprise, promote limited government. Very, very difficult decision to walk away from NPRI, but I'm excited about the opportunity in front of me. And, I go into this decision with no doubts whatsoever.
You've worked from outside the arena, from the outside looking in. How difficult is it? Let's say you win Congressional District 3 and you go to Washington in January of 2017. How difficult is it? I mean, it's easy from outside to criticize, to suggest reforms, and even to petition for reforms. But it's another thing to be one of those 535 members of Congress. Is it going to be more difficult to do it from inside or from outside?
Well, first of all, you need to have it coming from both. And I think that even though I'm going to be running for elected office, I would urge everybody, all of your listeners, to keep in mind the importance of having those outside groups like the Nevada Policy Research Institute, like so many others, not just in Nevada, but around the country, to continue to put pressure on politicians from the perspective of, you need to be there really looking out for our interests and keeping our taxes low and keeping us free. Certainly you get into Congress and it's a whole new animal. It's a whole new approach. And I think to some extent there is a level of difficulty to it. harder, easier. I think to some extent that's difficult to answer, but it's certainly different. But you certainly need people fighting for reforms, fighting for freedom, fighting for change from the inside as well as the outside. And I think the worst thing that can happen is that those of us who really do believe in liberty and do believe in limited government and in America's founding principles say, well, you know what, it's too difficult to change Washington, so I'm going to leave that to others, and I'm going to continue to work on the outside. Eventually, policymakers have to change policies. Ultimately, they're the ones who are going to decide, and I think what we need more than ever is people we're sending to Washington who are really committed to implementing the kinds of policies that our country needs. We can't simply leave it to those who are not looking out for our interests and do not have that commitment to promoting those ideals, because that's the path we've been on, and if we continue down that road, we're going to be in a lot of trouble as a country.
That is Andy Matthews. He is announcing today his candidacy for Congressional District 3. He wants to go and be a member of Congress from Congressional District 3, and he's running in a very tough primary where everybody tells me, I haven't seen any polling yet, but that Michael Roberson will end up being the number one guy, at least in the beginning. He, of course, shepherded the largest tax increase in the history of our state. How much of an impact in your decision to run for Congress was this Republicans not acting like Republicans thing that happened in Carson City?
Certainly a factor, but I think it is, I made this decision because I think it's the best decision for me, because I think I am best positioned to represent the voters of Nevada's 3rd Congressional District. But I think, one of the reasons I've been encouraged so much, and so many people have approached me about running, is a combination of that commitment that I've got to America's defining principles, and also frustration with what we've gotten from so many of our elected leaders. And you mentioned Senator Roberson, and of course I was a leading critic of his performance in Carson City. He gave us the largest tax increase the state has ever seen. He increased the sales tax, he increased the payroll tax, he increased the business license fee, on and on and on. He voted to support a very costly expansion of our Medicaid system, Medicaid obligations under Obamacare. So he's got a record that is really a classic tax and spend liberal voting record. And I think there's a lot of anger, a lot of frustration among voters with that, with Senator Roberson's record. And I think there is a longing for something better and somebody who's really going to stand up for the right principles. And those are the principles I'm going to run on, and those are the principles that will guide me once I'm in Congress.
One of the keys to running a successful campaign is having enough money to do it, to get your message out. You don't have huge recognition around CD3. Those of us inside the political bubble, we know all about you. We love you. But I'm curious, how do you, in a race where you have Michael Roberson, who's like one of the leaders in Carson City, and you got a guy by the name of Tarkanian who's also running, and you may have other candidates out there. Annette Tejero is going to be running. How do you get the word out, and how do you raise the kind of money it's going to take to get your name recognition up?
Yeah, and ultimately, I may end up being outspent in this race, but I'm certainly not going to get outworked. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go door to door. I'm going to meet with citizens in my district. I'm going to not just talk to them, but listen to them. And there's going to be a lot of effort to spread the word on that one-on-one basis, which is something that I've certainly done a lot in my time here at the Nevada Policy Research Institute. I'm looking forward to doing that in this campaign as well. But you're absolutely right. It's going to take resources. And I've had a number of conversations as I was exploring whether or not to get into this race to get a sense of whether or not the resources would be there. And the response was overwhelming. And a lot of people saying, if you get into this race, and I hope you do, I'm going to be there to support you. So I am very, very confident that I'm going to have the resources I need to get my message out. And I think I've got the most compelling message of anybody running in this race. And so I'm really looking forward to having that conversation, to attracting supporters. One thing that I think is a strength for me, and I bring this up because I know that you've got a statewide listenership here on your program, but the work I've done over the last 8 years at NPRI certainly has allowed me to build a profile and some recognition all across the state, not only in CD3. And I've had a lot of people from all over Nevada, people in Elko. Lake Tahoe, people in Reno, people in Elko, really all over this great state who have reached out to me and encouraged me to run. And, I think that a lot of people are going to be interested in getting involved and supporting me, even from outside of this congressional district, because they recognize the importance of this particular race and what's on the line here. I really think when you look at Senator Roberson and what he represents and in terms of his voting record and his guiding principles, and then you look at where I am and what I fought for, lower taxes, education reform, combating the outsized influence of the public employee unions, I think the contrast could not be more stark. And I think what we've really got here is a battle for the soul of the Republican Party. What kind of party are we going to be? Are we going to be the kind of party that accommodates and gives into the demands for higher taxes and more spending? Or are we going to stand for something else and fight back against that tide? And I think, my message is one that is certainly going to resonate with voters into the 3rd Congressional District. But I think there are going to be a lot of people all over Nevada who are going to understand the importance of this race and are going to be interested in supporting me and helping me get elected.
That's Andy Matthews, the former president of the Nevada Policy Research Institute. He this past Friday resigned from that organization and has announced today on this program that he is running for Congress from Congressional District number 3. What happens to NPRI after Andy Matthews? We'll get to that. What are the issues that will be a part of this primary race in CD3? We'll get to that as well. I'm Kevin Wall. That's Andy Matthews right here, live and local now. It's live and local now. Kevin Wall with you. Andy Matthews, he has announced today on this program that he is running for Congress from Congressional District 3. This could be a very expensive race, especially when you have multiple candidates on the Republican side. We still don't even know what the Democrats are going to do, who they're going to recruit for the race. But I'm just curious from a fundraising standpoint. Is it going to be difficult? Is it going to be okay? You say you might not be spending as much as some of the other candidates. How tough?
Well, raising money, of course, is always tough, and you have to work hard for it. But the harder you work, the easier it gets, and that's the way these things work. Is that you have, I think I'll have the ability to raise a lot of money because I think there are a lot of people out there who are going to respond positively to my message. But I've got to put in the work to reach those people, and I intend to do that. I've set a goal of raising $1 million for this primary. I believe I'm going to reach it. I think I can be very, very competitive and win for even a little bit less than that. But that's the goal I've set. And like I said, I'm going to work very, very hard to raise the resources I need to get my message out. My campaign website, matthewsfornevada.com, went live this morning, and people can go to that site and they can get plugged into my campaign and they can make a contribution, help me get off and running. But I think, I think it starts with the message. It starts with having the right vision for what our country can be. And I think from there, it's just a matter of putting in the work to go to people and connect with them and let them know what that vision is. And like I said, in the conversations I've had in the run-up to this decision, the response has been overwhelmingly positive. I expect that to continue.
Got to ask you, a lot of people concerned. You've done such a great job at the Nevada Policy Research Institute, but I know the board there acted very quickly when you turned in your resignation on Friday, and they've got, I was going to say a new face, but she's not really a new face to NPRI.
It's kind of like that line from the Who song, meet the new boss, same as the old boss, right? Sharon Rossi, who was my predecessor as president of NPRI, is now also my successor as president of NPRI, and I have to say the organization could not be in better hands. She's a visionary leader, a hard worker. She helped put NPRI on the course to becoming, I think, the strongest champion for free markets and individual liberty in the state of Nevada. It was a real honor to continue the work that she did and to have an opportunity to grow the organization further. NPRI, I have no doubt, under their leadership team, Sharon Rossi, Victor Jakes, NPRI's executive vice president, Steve Miller, senior vice president, Joe Becker, who runs NPRI's litigation center. and on and on and on. It's a great team with a great leader, and they're going to continue to do great work.
Final 90 seconds. The issues in CD3. What are you guys all going to be and ladies going to be talking about?
Well, Washington, D.C. right now, taxes too much, it spends too much, it regulates too much, it spends too much time trying to run our lives. I want to fight for lower taxes. I'm going to fight to reduce spending. I'm going to fight to reduce the regulatory burden on hardworking Americans. I'm going to fight to repeal the so-called Affordable Care Act, better known as Obamacare. And I'm going to fight to promote liberty and limited government and help restore the principles that inspired our nation's founding.
I'll tell you this, we're going to miss you as a resource at the Nevada Policy Research Institute. But, hey, it's going to be a great race in Congressional District 3. I wish you the best. I know you're going to be traveling a lot. You're going to be speaking a lot. You're going to be out there on the stump. Be safe out there. And, again, I know that we'll talk along the way.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for your friendship and for having me on the program. And I look forward to a very spirited and exciting conversation over these next several months.
Very good. Andy Matthews, the former president of the Nevada Policy Research Institute.